Greetings, fellow conquerors. This is darkfireslide, and welcome to an idea group's discussion video. But we're going to do a little bit of a different thing today because we're talking about an idea group everyone probably already knows about, and discuss how it was nerfed in the previous patch, in the Ming patch, the current patch 1.20. And yeah, so the major change that was made to religious ideas is that Deus Vult got moved from the first slot to the last slot of the idea group. Now, this has a large number of implications and completely changes the idea group, and kind of the entire approach to it. So, before, you could pick up religious ideas. If it was your first idea group, all you had to do was put in 400 admin points, and suddenly you had mini imperialism. You could just basically attack pretty much anyone, so long as they weren't the same religion as you. Now, in Europe itself, this isn't that overpowered, or even that good or useful at all until you got to about the age of the Reformations, when people were changing religions. So so that's not that big of a deal in Europe. Outside of Europe, however, where there are all kinds of different religions to have to worry about, religious ideas was very effective. And the thing is about this, though, is there were times, even myself, I like to finish idea groups, but with religious ideas, a lot of these ideas are very situational. And so Deus Vult was kind of just this really awesome thing. It was probably the main reason that you took religious ideas for. It was probably one of the the best parts about religious ideas, was just having the having this option, having this casus belli to use that you didn't even need like claims against. So yeah, religious ideas was really good before. Now it's still very good because the effects weren't changed at all. However, with Deus Vult being moved to the back of the idea group, it is a lot more of a commitment to get what you want out of this idea group. Now, what are going to be like the far-reaching implications of this? Well, I think we might see people take religious ideas less often. And the thing is about religious ideas is it was already very much an early game idea group, because around 1700, when you get diplomatic tech 23, you get imperialism, and then you can declare war for any reason, any time. And so Deus Vult in the late game is just straight up worse than imperialism. So when I call this mini imperialism, like, it's basically what it is, because you can only do it on neighboring countries that are different religion than you, whereas imperialism, you can just attack anyone, anytime, for no reason, and take their stuff. So it really is a powerful ability, but only before you get imperialism. And the thing is, if you don't have Deus Vult, and you're attacking people, well, of course you have to fabricate claims, and that's just standard procedure in the game. Now, part of the problem with this, in my opinion, is that there were already incentives to take other idea groups in the early game. Taking innovative, for example, gives you 5% technology cost. That is a great modifier to have at the start of the game. Taking administrative ideas for your first admin group is always great because of that core creation cost reduction and the administrative technology cost reduction. The group pays for itself, especially the earlier you take it. But now, religious ideas is also having to compete with humanist ideas. If you can compare just the first two ideas of humanist, the religious unity bonus and especially the national unrest -2, these two bonuses alone are massive. And I'm getting Discord messages. If it's not Facebook, it's one thing, right? Now, a lot of idea groups are unfortunately like this in EU4. Some are great for filling out, because they have a lot of great ideas, and others are great for a dip, as I would call it, in like a role-playing game. And what I mean by a dip is you take the idea group and you don't finish it at first. You finish it whenever it's convenient rather than trying to fill it out intentionally, because the bonuses in it aren't that great. A great example of this is defensive ideas. So defensive ideas starts out really, really strong. You get your yearly army tradition up, which is going to improve your armies and give you better generals, and you get morale of armies plus 15%, which is a massive boost to your army, especially in the early game. The other ideas in defensive are not so great. So land leader maneuver, it's okay. Land maintenance modifier is great, but all these other idea groups at the back end of this group, not so great. Contrast this with offensive ideas. So offensive ideas, if you dip in it, if you only put a 2-point dip in it, you would get land leader shock +1 and recruitment time -10%. Recruitment time, I know better than to bash this idea, because it is good, but it's not as good as something like morale of armies plus 15%. So if you only 2-point dip into offensive ideas, you get land leader shock and recruitment time, which is still useful in the end of the game, but not nearly as useful as what you would get out of a 2-point dip into defensive ideas. The same goes for quality. Now, quality 10% infantry combat it's okay. I mean, it's nice to have, but it's only okay. And you're the army tradition +1, so this is still good, but it's still not as good as defensive ideas. Now, quantity ideas, you get national manpower +50% and manpower recovery speed. These are useful. However, the rest of quantity is also good. So you get your regiment cost down, land maintenance down, mercenaries, bleh, garrison size, bleh, land attrition down, and land force limit. So the entire idea group, for the most part, except for these two turds, are pretty good. Now, what about other, administrative ideas? Well, if you only 2-point dip into administrative ideas, you get the most useful idea group out of the bunch just from 2-point dipping into administrative ideas. So, core creation cost reduction. Everything else in administrative ideas, 3 of the ideas relate to mercenaries. One of them relates to advisors, and the last relates to administrative technology, of course. Humanist ideas is, again, good for the dips. Expansion ideas, well, expansion ideas are still expansion ideas. Economic ideas. If you 2-point dip into this, you get a nice tax modifier and construction cost reduction. Innovative is a group that also suffers from, it's more along the lines of innovative now, I would say, as a result of this. Now, that being said, if you fill out the idea group, it's going to be more or less the same, but there are going to be, 6 ideas that you have to fill out before you can even really, get this done. And so, you don't unlock your first idea group until Tech 5, and that's really unfortunate, or your first idea group, I should say, not technology group. And this is important, because it's going to be a while before you even get this group. And then to actually unlock Deus Vult, you're probably going to be looking at around 1500, like the year 1500 at the very least, before you are actually able to utilize this Casus Belli. Whereas before, once you got Tech 5, got 400 admin points, you could just start crusading everything. So it is a pretty drastic change. Now the thing is, did this idea deserve a nerf? Well, yes, but maybe not so drastic of one. Maybe we could have moved Deus Vult a little further back than the final thing in the group. Now, that being said, 2 other comparable idea groups are old expansion and old exploration ideas, both of which gave a Casus Belli against primitives or nations that were less advanced than you. Whereas, Deus Vult just gives you mini imperialism against people who are of a different religion. So, overall, I think that this is a deserved nerf, but maybe not to the degree which it has been enacted upon. Because now, as somebody who already likes humanist ideas a lot, I see myself taking humanist ideas a lot for the benefits of it, the more immediate benefits of it, by comparison to what I have to wade through to get religious ideas. Now, that being said, I think missionary strength plus 3% was already in the 3rd slot, I want to say, but starting out with a bonus missionary and stability cost down for religious ideas is just really, really terrible. It's not. Sorry, I shouldn't say terrible. Obviously, all these are bonuses, and pretty much every idea group, with maybe the exception of like espionage and maritime and naval, are going to give you bonuses that are useful, and a bonus missionary and stability cost down are both useful. However, compared to the effects of the first 2 of humanist, I find it to be a lot better. And the religious idea group is still great, especially because Deus Vult exists. But without Deus Vult, I don't really see the point of religious ideas, especially when humanist exists. So I don't know. I see this changing how often I take religious ideas, and instead we'll probably be taking humanist ideas as a result instead. And maybe that's the intended thing here, is to get people to pick other idea groups, because I know that religious ideas is a very popular pick among people, and pretty much people always cite Deus Vult as the reason that this idea group is so good. So anyway, those are that was the change made to religious ideas, and I think that people might end up choosing different ideas, or at the very least, their progress is going to be slowed by not having Deus Vult for a bit longer before they actually get to use it. So, anyway, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.